Congratulations! You're about to be born into the coldest, darkest, most brutal nursery on planet Earth. No trees, no grass, no burrow, not even solid ground. You'll arrive in the dead of the Antarctic winter, where temperatures crash to 40, sometimes 60 degrees below zero, and winds scream across the ice at up to 200 kilometers an hour. And your nursery? The top of your father's frozen feet. Welcome to life as an emperor penguin, where your dad is going to starve himself for 4 months in the dark just to keep you from becoming an ice cube. Let's back up. Your story starts as a single egg, about 12 centimeters long, laid by your mother sometime in May or June, white as the sun is abandoning Antarctica for the winter. And almost the second you're laid, your mother does something that sounds like betrayal. She leaves. She carefully passes you over to your father, turns around, and walks off toward the sea, a journey that can be over 100 kilometers. She'll be gone for 2 whole months. But she's not abandoning you. She's starving herself, and she has to refuel so she can feed you later. Here's the terrifying part. The handoff from mom's feet to dad's feet has to be flawless. If you, the egg, touch that ice for too long, you freeze solid. Your very first life event is a high-stakes game of Don't Drop the Baby, played in a blizzard in the dark. So your father tucks you onto the tops of his feet and covers you with a special flap of warm, feathered skin called a brood pouch. Inside that pouch, he keeps you at a cozy 36 degrees Celsius, while just centimeters away, the outside world is 40 below. That's a temperature gap of almost 80 degrees, maintained by one very cold, very hungry bird. He'll balance your egg like this for around 65 days, never once setting you down, eating nothing but the occasional mouthful of snow. By the time you finally hatch, Dad hasn't eaten in roughly 4 months.
And if you hatch before Mom makes it back, Dad's own body produces a substance called crop milk, a rich, fatty secretion he feeds you straight from his throat. He is literally starving to death, and he's still finding a way to make you food. Try competing with that on Father's Day. And then finally, Mom comes home. She returns from the sea fat and healthy, and she locates your father in a colony of thousands of nearly identical penguins, purely by the sound of his voice. The two of them pick out each other's calls in a screaming crowd, in the dark, after 2 months apart. She coughs up a belly full of fish, your first real meal, and your father, who has now lost nearly half of his entire body weight, hands you over and staggers off toward the ocean to finally eat. His reward for 4 months of frozen devotion is a very long walk to a fish buffet he's earned 100 times over. From here on, your parents become commuters, taking turns trekking to the sea and back, each round trip covering hundreds of kilometers, all just to keep you fed. But let's stop and ask the obvious question. Why? Why would any creature choose to raise a baby in the worst weather on Earth? Rewind, and the brutal logic appears. By breeding in the dead of winter, your parents time everything so that you become independent in the brief Antarctic summer, the short window when the sea is richest with food and the ice is safest to cross. In other words, you suffer through the winter as a baby so you can graduate exactly when the ocean is throwing its biggest feast of the year. It's brilliant scheduling. It's also why your entire childhood happens inside a freezer. Now, surviving out here takes more than a good dad. It takes teamwork. To beat the cold, the adults pull off one of the most impressive tricks in all of nature: the huddle.
Thousands of penguins packed together so tightly that the temperature inside the huddle can climb above 30 degrees Celsius, even while a blizzard tears across the ice outside. And here's the best part. It's fair. The birds freezing on the outer edge slowly shuffle their way inward, while the warm ones in the middle rotate back out to take their turn in the cold. It's a giant, living, rotating radiator with a strict queuing system. No single penguin freezes, because every single penguin takes a shift at the door. And then there's your body. You can't fly, but you fly underwater. Emperor penguins are the deepest diving birds on Earth, plunging more than 500 meters down into the Black Ocean. That's deeper than most submarines casually go. And you can hold your breath for over 20 minutes on a single dive. Most humans start panicking at 1. Your bones are unusually dense and solid for a bird, so you don't bob back to the surface like a cork. You're built like a feathered torpedo wearing a tuxedo. But before you can use any of that, you have to grow up. For your first months, you're a fluffy gray chick covered in down that is absolutely not waterproof. If you got in the water now, you'd freeze or drown. So you huddle with the other chicks in a nursery group called a creche while your parents commute to the sea and back. And the whole time, danger is circling overhead. Skuas and giant petrels, big aggressive seabirds, patrol the colony, snatching unguarded eggs and weak chicks. Wander too far from the group, and you become a delivery order. Then comes the moment your entire childhood was building toward, the march to the sea. You finally trade your baby down for sleek, waterproof feathers, and you set off across the ice toward open water. It is a long, exhausting, completely exposed trek, and it is a gauntlet. Every meter is another chance to get picked off, get lost, or simply run out of fuel. And if you make it all the way to the water's edge,
Don't relax, because the ocean you've been marching toward your whole life is also a kill zone. Leopard seals patrol the ice edge, waiting for exactly this moment, for inexperienced young penguins to take their very first swim. And out in the deeper water, killer whales are hunting too. Your first time in the sea, the thing your entire body was designed for, is one of the most dangerous moments of your whole life. You spent months learning to dive like a torpedo, and your final exam is taken in a room full of predators. And the truth is, many chicks never get this far. Between the cold, the storms, the predators, and the timing of the ice, a huge number of emperor chicks don't survive their first year. You might be one of them, a small gray bundle that simply couldn't outlast the winter, or didn't make the march, or met a leopard seal on day 1. So if this is where your story ends, say your goodbyes and slip beneath the ice. You were kept alive, for a while, by the most devoted father in the animal kingdom. A bird who starved in the dark for months so that you might get a single chance. That chance was always going to be a long shot. But here's the part that should genuinely worry us. Every single thing about your life, the breeding, the egg, the huddle, the march, depends on one ingredient: stable sea ice. And that ice is vanishing. In 2022, the sea ice across part of Antarctica broke up far too early, before the chicks had grown their waterproof feathers. In 4 out of 5 colonies in that region, it's believed essentially no chicks survived. Thousands of them lost in a single season. There were only around 600,000 emperor penguins left, and their numbers are already falling. In 2026, the species was officially reclassified as endangered, with projections that its population could be cut in half within decades if the ice keeps disappearing. The most devoted father on Earth can starve for 4 months on the ice to save his chick.
but he cannot save the ice itself, and that is the one thing his entire family is standing on.